Gather around, youngsters, sailors alike. I got the elixir for your hard-working life. I can't guarantee it'll save your soul, but you're gonna feel alright tonight, 'cause Dr. Rizzy.
Welcome back to the Porch Sessions in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where today, or I guess I should say this evening, we are honored to have the good Dr. E.
Thank you, man.
Without the Voodoo Kings.
Without that. Sans Voodoo Kings.
Sans Voodoo Kings. Well, welcome.
Thank you, man.
Now, this has been a lot of rescheduling to get you here, and thank you for your patience for all that. So, and we got some good weather.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's not freezing.
And it's good because you and I know each other outside of the porch, but I don't know you that much as a musician, so it's kind of going to be good to get to learn a little bit more about your story. Now, you moved here from New York City.
By way of, actually, Texas.
So New York City, Texas, and you have a really interesting musical journey, and I want to touch on some of the highlights. And I swear, I really wish I had a picture of some of the how do you call it, the spandex that you had in a metal band for a while.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, you picked up guitar at an early age. And you studied sort of classical guitar, right? Yeah. And then you found your way to.
You know,
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No. I originally went to college to study classical guitar, but I was always playing rock and roll since I was like 12 years old, and I was really into metal. And so around 1983, I'm starting this
hair metal or like Metallica metal.
Oh no, hair metal with my sister's clothes and my mother's makeup. And that's the way.
God, I wish there were pictures.
Oh, there is, but you're not gonna find them. Yeah, and so I was doing that while I was trying to do the serious music, and then it just really you couldn't serve the two masters, as the saying goes. And I left school and played in a couple of metal bands for about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you guys tour around?
Yeah, we did. The first time I came down south was really up and down I-10 was in 1987 or 88, and completely fell in love with everything that the South had to offer. I mean, the Southern hospitality, the women, the food, it was fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you recognize how awesome it is down here.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, for those of you guys who don't know Dr. E, he is not going to be shredding metal tunes here. You are probably one of the most, sought-after blues players here. And, you play all the time, man.
Yeah, we play a lot.
Every time I pick up the paper, I turn on WSM, there's Dr. E and the Voodoo Kings. So how did you go from classical guitar, hair metal, to the blues? That's a journey.
I was saying before we got started, in 1977, I was watching Sanford and Son. I was like 12 years old.
I loved Sanford and Son.
Did you ever see the episode of B.B. King?
No.
Oh, the whole time Fred Sanford thought B.B. King was there to sort of beat him up or something like that. It was just some crazy episode. But the last 5 minutes, they broke character. And B.B. King sort of playing his song, and the cast members are taking turns singing a verse. I'm like, I'm a 12-year-old kid in New York. I was completely mesmerized by, first of all, B.B. King's sort of, just like stage presence, but this thing that the sort of improv in and everybody's having a good time, and so my mother caught wind of it, and every time B.B. King was on Johnny Carson, she'd wake me up in the middle of the night and be like, he's on, So I had that, and around the same time I discovered Kiss, which is this sort of loud rock and roll, and I pestered her enough that summer to let me take guitar lessons, and so it was started right around that time.
Wow. And so you kind of rediscovered, if you will, the blues on a few trips to New Orleans.
Yeah, there was probably around late 80s, early 90s. The first time I had come through New Orleans, I thought that there would be blues everywhere. And this is before the margarita shops and everything else. So there was a lot more music. But there was this blues guy. The first guy I saw was this guy named the Rooster, and he's still down there. He plays every once in a while, but not as much as he used to. And he was a one-man show, and I was just blown away by him. And, I started talking to him, and we became friends. And every time I'd walk in the place, he'd be like, Dave from New York. Never knew my last name or anything else. Probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway. And so I would go there, I went there for a couple of summers in a row and just hang out. And eventually, I asked him if he would teach me how to play, and I would sit in with him. And it was a great indoctrination into just everything related to that music, you know. And it was just not only him teaching me how to play, but being able to play with him. He was very generous with, you know, just like his knowledge, but just letting me sit in, you know. And it was just like, I couldn't believe it. I'd be like pinching myself, you know, like I'm on Bourbon Street playing with this guy, and I'm like, you know,
called the Rooster.
The Rooster.
I mean, right? Come
growing
on,
up in
right?
New York, I'm like, what? This is real, you know. And I was
Eating
telling
jambalaya, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course,
all
yeah,
this
right.
food that was, you know. And I was telling you this story before. Like the first night I played with him, where it actually gelled. You know, we finished for the evening, and you know, and threw me a couple of bucks, and he's like, "Put your hands out." I'm like, "All right, you know what?" And he takes out this aftershave, which smells exactly like you think it would smell. And he sprays it in my hands. I'm like, all right, thanks. He's like, well, you know, rub it on your face. I'm like, fine. And he's like, boy, now you can smell as good as you played. I was like, what? I got to call my mom. This is crazy. You know? And that was my experience with him. It was like every interaction was like sort of crazy magical. You know?
Wow, that's a great story. Well, setting that up, I mean, I have nowhere to go but to a song, man. So, I mean, I can't top that. So, what's the first song you're going to play?
First song is Mr. Blues. So, my day job is a neuroscientist, you know, at USM, and I study the effects of stress on behavior and things like depression and things like that. And so, in my sort of more adult years, I'm looking at the old blues music, and I was always blown away by Robert Johnson singing about like the blues walking just like a man. You know, I'm like, man, that's heavy. And went through a rough period in my life where like I really felt that. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. So I wrote this song, Mr. Blues, like he's a friend that I don't want, you know.
Oh man,
and there's a
I love
reference
that.
to some brain chemicals that I research.
Well, man, I'm looking forward to hear it. So we're gonna get Dr. E set up here, and we'll be right back with the neurosurgeon song, the neuroscience song. Looking forward to see you guys in a second.
Thank you. Mr. Blues. Good morning, Mr. Blues. I see you here again. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Well, I see you here again. We go way back since I don't know when. Before my feet hit the floor, you're knocking on my door. Before my feet, you're knocking on my door. Mr. Blues, I see you're back for more. Chased away my family, my little dog too, messing with my serotonin. Rid of you, Mr. Blues, but you're my only friend. Mr. Blues, you're gonna take me to my end. Chased away my baby, my mom and dad too, messing with my dopamine. Rid of you, Mr. Blues, but you're my only friend. Mr. Blues, you're gonna take me to my end. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Ow. Good morning. Good night, Mr. Blues.
Blues. You've been with me all day. Mr. Blues, well, please go away. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Good morning, Mr. Blues. Ow! Good morning. Good night, Mr. Blues. You've been with me all day. Mr. Blues, well, please go away. Mr. Blues, well, please go away. Mr. Blues, well, please go away.